Our imams do so much for the community. They give khutbas, they teach classes, they lead prayers, they lead tarawih, they kind of inspire and change the landscape of a community. But more often than not, most of our imams are dragged down and caught up in doing a lot of counseling for married couples, whether they're trying to stay married or whether they're getting divorced. And this is honestly a very big burden on our imams because they are made to do hundreds and hundreds of different activities. If you look at an imam's contract, you'll see how many duties they have to do. And I was just thinking to myself that as a lawyer, basically an alim is kind of trained like a lawyer, right? In the sense that they're learning law, they're learning sources of knowledge, they're learning these things and being able to apply it to day-to-day situations. And so I'm thinking to myself that, I might make a decent lawyer, but I would never make a good counselor, right? But many of our imams have stepped up and taken on this role and have done a very, very good job. So I wanted to just give some bits of advice to the public, to imams and the board on this issue of our imams being so integrally involved in divorce, right? So first I'll address the public. So I think it's a great thing that we are approaching our imams anytime we have a problem in our family. They're our first point of contact. And I think that's a great thing. But at the same time, we have to realize that it may not be part of the imam's job description, number one. Number two is that it probably doesn't make sense to talk about your family problems after Isha Salah, right? I'm sure that most imams have office hours that you can schedule time to meet with them. The other thing is that you want to make sure that you're not using the imam as a tool. What do I mean by that? Basically, you'll see that either a husband or a wife, they go to the imam not necessarily to solve a problem, not necessarily to get back together, not necessarily to do the divorce in an amicable manner, but rather they go to the imam as a weapon to get some ammo for their position as my wife isn't doing this or my husband is not doing that. And so we need to make sure that we are using the imam or we are approaching the imam in a very respectable manner. And the other thing to realize is, I know, mashallah, there's so many imams these days that have training in counseling, that have bachelor's and master's degrees in therapy. But you should really know whether your imam is equipped with this type of knowledge and this type of training. Otherwise, it might make sense to go other places, for example, therapists, or maybe use the elders in your family. Now, for the imams, when it comes to divorce, again, I think that there's a lot to be learned as an imam. Obviously, I'm not in those shoes, but there's a lot of training that is needed when you're giving counseling. And there's a lot of training needed when you're dealing with two fighting spouses and the perspectives that they have and the arguments that they have. And a lot of times as human nature, and I'm sure as an imam, we want to give a solution, right? We want to give an answer. This is the fiqh ruling, or this is the legal ruling, and this is what applies in the situation. But a lot of times in marriage counseling, that's not what is actually needed. Really, what's needed is a facilitation of communication. I have so many imams who call me after I file a case, and they'll call me, on behalf of the husband or on behalf of the wife, advocating for that particular person and saying, okay, we should drop the divorce or we should take it easy or whatever we should do. And I understand that, but I don't know if that's necessarily the imam's role. I understand that the imam's role is to give the legal ruling, to give advice, to help people increase in their spirituality. But I think that many imams need to realize that, okay, if this is beyond my training, then I should send them to a therapist or a psychologist or somebody else. To the board, what I would say to Masjid Boards is divorce is a reality. It's happening all around us. And I think we have to stop being so scared of the word divorce, right? I'm not saying to have like divorce 101 tutorials necessarily, but have programs at the masjid that help marriage counseling. Maybe outsource your therapist duties to, Khalil Center or some other institution that can provide those services either on site or you can refer them out. The other thing to maybe think about is to charge for these types of services, right? This might be a boost for the imam, this might be a boost for the masjid, and this is really a necessity of the community. That if we want to invest in our masajid, we want to invest in the community in our future, we as a masjid or we as a board really have to invest in family, in trying to keep family together and keeping family values at the forefront of our mission and our goal. And as a board, we should maybe think about implementing premarital counseling anytime an individual wants to get married at your masjid, or through the imam, for example. Just a 1-2 day course that talks about our 2-session course, I should say, that talks about marriage, that talks about finances, rights and responsibilities, and those types of things. Marriage is one of the biggest commitments that we're going to get into, and there's absolutely no education related to this. So I pray that inshallah our community, our imams, and our boards deal with this reality and invest in families for the future. Until next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.